Something that I thought would be cool though is before we play ranked, I actually had a tournament match earlier today, this morning. I played in WMGP, and I saved my matches. I have all the replays saved, so it was with this deck, so we can go ahead and watch those if that would be cool before we start playing actual games, because they were pretty good games, some of them. Let's go. Yeah. So we'll start with we'll do them in chronological order. I also had a T2 Trials match, but I didn't have space to save all of those replays. Yeah, so I could have had two tournaments today. Yeah, so this is, I'm going second. We have Maxi. I prefer not to speak about that tournament. Yeah, we lost, unfortunately. It was very sad. Yeah, this was the much better tournament. The WMGP match. So yeah, we resolved Maxi, so it's kind of straightforward. Don't worry, you'll get him next time. Yeah, it was top 4, and I didn't expect to make it to top 4. So our team, I'm impressed with our team overall. Okay, so we have a really weak board to beat here. It's just IP pass. Whenever you have this Snake Eye board where it's IP and then nothing else, and they're relying on Temple to summon a card from the back row before the SP is live, you can sometimes beat the IP super simple, right? By just forcing it, like going battle phase and then summoning something for the first time. But we can't do that this time. But we do have grass, and they don't even have hand traps, so this is extremely straightforward. Expected to lose in top 16, top 8 at a push. Yeah, we did expect to lose our top 16 match and our top 8 match, so the fact that we made it through them both was pretty lucky. But that's over now. Our run is over. Let's focus on new things. So I kind of cheesed the IP there because my first summon was Albaz with effect, so there's no way they could chain the IP. And it's really trivial to just win here because we hard drew a Makuria, so we don't even need to respect Nibiru here. We literally just put damage on the board. Hello. Hello, Leoko. First time chatter, welcome. We're currently just watching some of my branded games from earlier today. I played in a tournament, so... Okay, so this is a best of 3 series. You play a best of 3. So I played against the same player again. This was game 2. There is a side deck, so we sided. So this game was kind of a non-game. You'll notice that I'm going second versus Snake Eye, and I just don't draw anything. No hand traps, but the hand itself is like even worse. The fact that there's no hand traps is like not the hugest deal. You can win games with branded without hand traps, but this hand is just so bad. And we don't mill anything good either with the zombie vampire. So the opponent doesn't even have Snake Eye access, but they do get to search Ash, which we don't care about because we drew Cold Buy and Crossout, which is why it's so unfortunate because their board ends up being Desiree and Appaloosa with Princess, which is so beatable for Branded because we negate the Ash very easily. These are not even imperm set, but our hand is just so bad we draw Foolus. We have nothing. So this was sad, but nothing can be done. I'm pretty sure I scoop it up pretty quickly. Yeah, I do. So then I get to decide to go first, and we play this game 3. In my side deck for going first, I like to side the Nadia Servant package because it's really good going first and not good going second. And I also like to side extra copies of Dupe. So this is the first really interesting game. My hand is not great. It has Ash for Maxi and it has Crossout for Ash, but it only has one play and it loses to Imperm or Vela. We're not playing Vela in the deck, so we can't cross out Vela, which is why it's super spooky into Imperm. Their hand is so cracked. Well, you say that. It is 3 hand traps and Bonfire. Yeah, that's pretty cracked. But this one isn't great against Branded. This one has been known to be hit or miss against Branded, and it's only this one that's really solid. So we go for Foolish for our 1-card combo. And here we get Drolled. And we don't play Droll either, so we can't cross it out. The play here, instead of normal summoning Alba, because we can't search, we have a Quem instead. We can go Quem, sending Branded Fusion, and then use Thrust to set Duplication. So Duplication can copy the Branded Fusion. It's important though that we go Thrust first, because if the opponent has Ash, they are way less likely to Ash a Thrust right now when there's no visible target. Whereas if we used it after sending a target with Quem, they would be definitely Ashing it. It doesn't matter because we have Crossout, but if they don't use it, then that's even better. We get to keep the Crossout. And that's what happens. They don't Ash it. They do Gamma the Quem though. And we have to Ash that Gamma. If they had Ashed the Quem, there would have been no recourse. We would have to cross it out. Well, I guess we would have been able to cross it out. Yeah, that would have been fine. Yeah. So now we're just playing with Dupe plus Quem, which is kind of solid. If they had drew a better engine card here, it might have been pretty tricky. But because they only have one engine, it's actually pretty easy to beat with the Dupe. So an option here is to, if you just have Dupe on its own, one option is to flip it now and then just banish Poplar. Because they didn't search for OSS, they searched for Temple. So you could deny access to the rest of the Snake Eye by just banishing Poplar here, or Ash. Probably Ash. But because I have the Quem, I have the option of sending an Albaz with Dupe and then reviving it. So I want to get value out of that, so I want to wait until they summon from the extra deck. Then I can fuse into Mirror Jade. Like now. It's also relevant that I have just one discard, because you gotta think that Lubellion requires a discard and so does Albaz. So you have to keep track of how many cards you have, and think about what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed. They send both monsters from their field, which I think is a little strange. I'm not sure why they didn't send like the field spell. Now here is the moment why we flip the Dupe. The reason is because they have 2 monsters in the back row, which means they can go Doom the Dragon, place the Quan. And if we chain, it's going to be too late to trigger the Quan. So we flip the dupe now. And we summon Rinbrum. We summon Rinbrum because Rinbrum can negate and bounce a Doomed Dragon, which is really good. But also, we don't need to use the Albaz, right? We don't need to go Albion into something or Lubellion. So we can use the Albaz with Quan. And Rinbrum doesn't require a discard. So we can use the one discard that we have for Quan. Tempting to revive this, but it's better to go for the Albaz. Because they summon the Linkuriboh back, we can make a Mirror Jade. And now they need extenders. They choose to go Flamberge first, we just banish that. That's a standard play. We send Albion because we've already got Rinbrum on the field and we've already fused with Albaz. This can search for Branded in White in the end phase, which is what we want because Branded Fusion is banished. Now we can just negate this. They Ash the Albion, but we have that cross out, so they just don't have anything yet. We would still win, even if they didn't... even if we didn't have the cross out, we would still win here. Hello, hello. Yeah, my opponent scooped, so that's the first match win. Thank you for pinning the Discord server. That's... Okay, so then for the next match, I play against a different opponent. This is game 1. The way WMGP works is it's 3 sets. It's a 3v3, so you play 3 best of 3s with your teammates, and whoever wins the most of those in each set wins the set. And it's a best of 3 overall with 3 sets. So my opponent goes first with White Forest. I have no hand traps. The hand looks good. It's promising. We have Grass, and the deck is small. We have Super Poly, which is crazy. And we have access to Albaz with Super Poly, so it's actually really promising. This is just a White Forest full combo. I don't think it is full combo, because for some reason they didn't go through Fiendsmith. I don't know if they weren't playing it. They just made a Baron and passed. So maybe they're not playing Fiendsmith in this build, which is surprising. But the end board is Baron, Sylvia, Fenrir, and then they also have Impum and Ash. We did know that there's Impum because they added it back, but we didn't know about the Ash. The Branded in Red is kind of whatever. We don't really care about this because we're going to discard it. Every card in our hand requires a discard, unfortunately, so it's like kind of conflicting. But I do have a line. If we go Summon Albaz, then we don't use the effect, we just go straight for Battle Phase. We attempt to attack over the Sylvia, nothing can stop that. Then after it's dead, we go Super Poly with the Baron, and attack over the Fenrir. Fenrir won't trigger because no monster effect is activated, and then it's just Impum, Ash, and this thing, which is basically a vanilla, I don't care about it, with a live Mirror Jade still on the field. And then we can play with Grass. So it looked really, really good, but my opponent was very intelligent, and they ashed the deployment, which basically puts all of that plan dead, basically. And we don't really have another option. They choose to negate the opening, which makes sense because I chained it, so maybe they were expecting Droplet. And chaining Sylvia early is a way to beat Droplet. We have to go for the kit, just hoping that they will somehow use the Baron instead of the Impone. I choose to just set the Super Poly because I can't use it on this board. There's no point using Grass, it will just get negated. Isn't his Diabell dead? You mean this? Yeah, so it's basically a vanilla either way. But yeah, we can't beat that. They end up sniping the Super Poly with the Baron, so there's no reason to stick around. Next game though, I get to go first. So we have one play again. Just like last time we went first, we have a very suspicious hand that loses to anything. If we get Imponed or Veiled on this Foolish, we are kind of fucked. So here I'm just praying that there is no Impone. I don't mind Ash because I have the dupe, and I don't mind Maxi, but Impone would make me cry. But there's no Impone, so we go for Fusion, and I see that it's Maxi, not even Ash. I would rather play against Maxi here than the Ash, because Branded is pretty good into Maxi. The line that I go for is Albion with no effect on summon, so that I can... Okay, so this is another example of what I mentioned in the previous games. I go for Thrust before tributing the Albion for Lubellion, so that they have one less draw that could be Ash. Right, so we want to set first so that they don't Ash it. So I set the Banishment because we already have the dupe. Then we tribute, they draw, and we place our Branded Lost. I do have Regained in the deck, but I think it was better to go Lost, because we're going to want to Fusion Summon on their turn and search for Mercuria. Then we set Branded in red because we already have the Banishment. There is a target for the Banishment and the Branded in red separately. You can also target the Albaz. So we have a lot of setup, even have Nibiru, which is great insurance when you're going first, because you can clear the board if everything goes wrong. So I'm not worried here at all. I'm happy to see that they hard drew the Birth, it's just a -1. And then they normal summon Luri, which is very exciting for me because that means they're not normal summoning a Sylvie, and it's very easy to deal with. Beansmith, we just flip the dupe. I decided to flip the dupe before using Branded in red or Banishment, because I don't have an Albaz fusion, so Mercuria is useless until I put a Albaz fusion on the board. So that's why I want to do this as soon as possible. I send the Sarania so that I can use it to get an extra discard. We've already been through Tragedy, so I can't go through Tragedy. And Sarania can get a discard by sending Retribution. The chain links here matter because it was duplication. Duplication doesn't create a Branded Lost window, so you do have to be careful on the chain links. Sometimes this trips up Branded players because you never expect people to be able to respond when you're dealing with Branded Lost. But something that's happened to me before is you go Duplication, and then you go Chainlink 1 Fusion Monster, Chainlink 2 Branded Lost, and then they Ghost Ogre the Branded Lost, or Ash Blossom the Branded Lost. And it's completely avoidable. All you have to do is make sure you chain block it. In this case, if we didn't have the Sarania to chain block it, I just simply wouldn't use the Branded Lost. I would let the Lubellion resolve, because then it would actually create a Branded Lost window. Then I would use the Branded Lost. But in this case, we can send Sarania as chaining 3. Search for our negate. And this makes Mirror Jade. I'm going to use it on summon during the branded loss window so there's no chance of a droplet or something. Banish the Lurry, and now they're in a bad spot. Talents is really strong, but they have to draw because they don't have extenders. This is one of the only extenders they can have, so I just negate it, and then there's basically nothing you can do from here. Except maybe like Engraver, but even then, your Lurry is banished, so they just attack, and we easily win from here. Weird not summoning the Sylvie instead of the Lurry. I think so, yeah. I think normal summoning Sylvie did more than normal summon Lurry, but either way it was easy to deal with, because we still had the banishment that we hadn't been through, and the branded in red, and the Nibiru. There was no way we were losing that. Okay, so then we move on to Game 3 against White Forest. Under 4 summons, yeah. When you're easily winning, there's no reason to play into Nibiru. Now this game was really cool. This might be my favorite of the games, even though if you look at their hand, it's a complete brick. So my opponent goes first, and they just pass, because they bricked. Using opening in the draw phase, we have seen Droll. Did you side in Droll? Yes, I did. I sided in Fualus and Droll. We're using opening in the draw phase because we know that White Forest plays Veiler. They always play Veiler because it's searchable. And I've seen Droll from this player in the previous game. Right? Or from this team at least. So we play around both by going for the draw phase, and then we get impugned. Because they bricked, I'm expecting more hand traps, so I don't actually expect to be able to resolve any combo this turn. But we're still going to try and play through the most hand traps possible. So the way that would play through the most hand traps normally, ideally, would be to go Goldsock, Banish, Mercuria, and get Cartesia. Cartesia is crazy into bricks because if they stop it once, they need to draw a play because it can happen again on the opponent's turn. It's not like Alibur, which is just one use. But because my Mercuria is in the graveyard, and I did side out the second copy, I can't do that. So I have to go for Tragedy instead. And we've already used Alibur, so it's better to just get Quan. In hindsight, it might have been better to get the second Alibur, because normal summoning the kit here is better anyway. So we normal summon the kit. This probably should have just been the second Alibur. But we get Ashed, which I think is a mistake. I think they should have held for Branded Fusion. It was almost certainly what I was going to search. So might as well let me go -1. And then they chain Maxi, which is a huge mistake, because if you know Branded, you know that I can't make Verte here, because opening locks you. So I'm not sure what they maxied. There's nothing in Branded that's like an inherent summon. They should have just kept that Maxi. And an even bigger mistake, honestly, in my opinion, was not waiting until I did a summon to chain Maxi, because they need to draw a play. Now they're just gambling on top decking. So I just go battle phase. And I feel pretty confident because I have 2 hand traps versus 2 cards which definitely are not plays, and then only 1 potential play. They draw Anti-Spell, which is one of their sides for going first. They flip it, we draw a Sword, which is a bad card, but it's fine. So here, who sees the winning line? Does anybody see the winning line here? I want to see if anybody can find it. How do you OTK right now? We just normal summoned this Quam, and we're activating it. This is the graveyard, and this is the banished. Shrouded send from hand. So you want to send Shrouded Dragon here. Send the sword from hand, summon from graveyard. And that would be 7,500 damage. Remember, they're only on 6,300. Is this a test? Kinda. Yeah. What other ways to lethal can you see? Yeah, I mean, you're right. The send Shrouded is definitely lethal. Just send Shrouded and then summon. But obviously I'm going to get ashed on this effect. So, does anybody see the line now for lethal? Now what do we do? How do we kill? Has to involve Verte? Yeah, but what specifically is the line? Make Verte Reborn Kit with Quam, then what? Obviously use the Verte, right? So, make Titan, yeah. So I actually do not the right play. I actually make, there's an even better play here. I find lethal, but there is an even better line that I miss because of this Mercuria in the graveyard. The line that I go for, which I thought was really cool, was to link off these two cards, not leaving the Quam on the board, but leaving the Alibur on the board, to go for Verte, and then making Titaniclad with Nibiru, because this is a 4,000 Titaniclad, which is exactly 6,300, so it's exactly game. And when I saw that line, I was like, yeah, I gotta go for it. But technically, there was a better line, which was, because this is under 5 summons, so we're safe from Nibiru, but we're not safe from like a Bestial or something. So instead, what I should have done was link off the Alibur, leave the Quam on the board, and then revive the Mercuria in attack position. Then we could at least negate a hand trap. But I end up winning, because this is talents, so we're fine. But I really liked the perfect lethal line. So we win against White Forest, and then there is one more match. We play against that first opponent again. So this is the third match. I realized they had anti-spell but didn't set talents. Yes. Hello, hello. So we're going first this time. The hand it's acceptable. It has Cold Bite, it has Ash, but it's still only got one play that loses to Imperm. So I am pretty afraid again. We get Sarania because we need it to pair with the Cartesia to access Branded Fusion. So they chain Fuolos, and I have a bit of a long think about whether I want to Ash or Cold Buy. I'm not sure what the better play is. I'm still not really sure. I know my opponent is on Snake Eye, and both of these cards are fine as disruptions on the end board. So I only really care about using them as efficiently into more hand traps. If I Ash the Fuelos, then I can Cold Buy an Ash. Whereas if I Cold Buy the Fuelos, I can't Ash an Ash. I can only Ash a Maxi. So I think I make a mistake here, because I decide to chain Ash. Then my opponent chains the second one, and I decide I have to Cold Buy. Fuelos isn't the craziest thing in the world for Branded, but because I have this specific line where I have to go summon Cartesia from deck, then summon Grand Guignol from extra deck, just to access Branded Fusion, it would be way too many draws. So I have to Cold Buy the second one. I'm going to throw a live grenade under his desk. Your opponent starts with Gale Dogger and dumps Kit Colors, that's crazy. Chain third Fua? I would call a judge if you did that. So we go for our one play. You'll notice, by the way, that my opponent's hand is exactly what you would want. This is like the perfect hand if you're not going to have a hand trap right now. This is like 1, 2, 3 perfect extenders. So we do kind of have our work cut out for us. So we send the second Retribution, pair with the Shrouded, and then add back Branded Fusion. I know that you guys can't see the graveyard behind me, unfortunate. This is one of the many reasons to play 2 Retribution. If you draw it, this line just didn't function. Well, it did, there was a line, but we would have to drop this Retribution from the hand, which is not what we want, because we need a discard for Lubellion. So you should always play 2 Retribution, in my opinion. And we make Albion with the Golden Sword Soul, because we've already got Lubellion in the graveyard. And we get to trigger it now. It also has a nice on-field effect. Yes, exactly. Which is why if you're going first and you hard draw it, it's almost never a bad draw. How can you see his hand? It's because this was played in a duel room. Oh, you thought it was live and we're just staring at our opponent's hand? That's crazy. So we summon the Mirror Jade. Again, we have regained in the deck, but it's better to get lost here because of the plays we're going to make on the opponent's turn. We set Banishment because there's no target for Branded in red, just the Albion. There is one card that allows you to look at opponent's hand. There are multiple cards that do that. I'm not actually playing Light and Darkness Dragon, by the way, which is why if anyone's wondering why I haven't been flipping Banishment in the standby phase, it's because I'm not on Light and Darkness Dragon. This Banishment is only summoning Chaos right now. So our opponent draws another extender, so they've actually got a crazy hand right here. His hand is gas. If we don't play our board correctly, we lose this game. So it's important that you don't, like, get overconfident here. We decide to flip the Banishment now. We don't want to deal with Doomed Dragon targeting Mirror Jade. He shouldn't have done that? You mean place the Diabell Star from the hand? I think my opponent's played it fine so far. Starting with the Millennium cards is optimal, I think. because it's very pressuring on Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade is very hard too. You can't counter like Sengenjin or Golem with just a Mirror Jade. Because if you banish one body, they still have like leftover stuff. And I decided to pop the back row. And we don't get Mercuria here, we get Albaz, because I have Cartesia. You think it's better to play Snake Eye Ash over Witch? You might be right, because the Witch can always send a field spell to get to OSS. And then you can go Oak for Ash in the graveyard. So you're not wrong. I think placing Ash would have been better. We get Albaz because I want to fuse with Cartesia. This gives me the highest ceiling. Then they choose to go for Snake Eye. And we trigger the Grand Guignol. We have Quem in the deck, so we have a really good Grand Guignol here. They can Aerial Eater dump anything? What do you mean by that? I don't think they're playing Aerial Eater because this is Snake Eye. So the card we send here is Branded Sword. The reason we send Sword is because I can add the Golden Sword Soul to my hand, which actually gives me like a battle trick, because this is an attack negate. But it's mainly just to get a second discard, right? This Albaz is being fused away, and we've already triggered Lost, so I want something that adds a card back to my hand, so that if I ever revive Albaz, I can fuse with it. That's the reason we send Sword. They go for Oak. I'm not afraid of anything right now, except Flamberge. And then my opponent does this really insane play, where they just link off 4 vanilla monsters for an enormous Appaloosa, which, I mean, I'll spoil it. There was no winning for them. If we play our board optimally, there's no way they could have used those 4 monsters in a way that wins. But this is a crazy decision to make. Just 4 material Appaloosa. Isn't Mirror Jade still live? Yes, Mirror Jade is still live. They place the Poplar. Then I decide to go Cartesia, because I can use a Branded Lost window to just banish the Appaloosa, and they can't negate me. They chain Appaloosa. We could chain the Mirror Jade, but I don't need to because Branded Lost protects me from being negated, so it just loses attack for free. We make Albion. And we chain the Retribution so that we can get a discard into our hand. And we also chain the Branded Sword so that I can get a second discard. Branded Lost is wild? Yes, it is. Branded Lost really is the strongest card. We banish the Albion from the field because there's actually no more darks in our graveyard. And we discard the Branded Fusion, not the Sword Soul, because if we survive the turn, we win. There's no reason to care about follow-up. I just have my attack negate because it does something. We summon Furious over a second Mirror Jade. If you're wondering why we didn't banish this Mirror Jade into Lubellion and then make another one, it's because when you have Quem live, Furious plus Mirror Jade is a crazy combo, because you can pop your own Mirror Jade and then revive it with Quem. So now under the Branded Lost window, we banish the Appaloosa. We get to pop this. I want to use the Furious quickly so that I can revive the Mirror Jade quickly. Last card is crazy, it's Engraver, but we beat it. We still beat Engraver here because we have that Mirror Jade revive. Not using the Fiendsmith engine before going into Snake Eye is crazy. I agree. Generally, you hold the Snake Eye until the last push, because it's the strongest push. It's the one that can OTK the best, and it's also the one that makes the most end board. So then they have to play into the Quam, which means our Mirror Jade will win. Note that we even have... No, never mind. We have Titaniclad, and Albaz is in the deck. So in the end phase, we can still summon Albaz, because we've not fused with it yet. I let them summon Engraver, and then I just banish. They can go sequence here, but it's not that crazy, because Beansmith can never OTK. This is kind of the difference between starting with Snake Eye and then extending with Beansmith. If you imagine it the other way around, because I'm out of disruptions right now. If they had gone sequence, or like Beansmith first, and then we use all of our disruptions, theoretically, and then this last push is Snake Eye, we're actually in trouble, because Snake Eye can do so much. Whereas this can only make a Desiree, which is never going to kill me. I even have the Golden Sword Soul, and it just destroys the Desiree, and they scoop. So that was game 1, now we're going second in game 2. Do you know the branded player Abo Hamoud? He does crazy plays too. Yeah, I know Abo. He's my team leader. He is part of T2 just like me. I speak regularly to Abo. He's better than me, for sure. He's a better branded player. Never heard of him? Shut up, Hats. Yes, you have. So if you look at this Snake Eye hand, for going first, Gamma, Nib, Bonfire, Wanted, and OSS. Looks pretty scary. Looks pretty scary. To be honest, you are both better player compared to all of us. Maybe. It's because he's watched the 20-hour video. I don't know if Abo has watched it. I don't know if he has. He definitely doesn't need to. Anyway. So my opponent is going first, and they choose to go main phase 1, add Wanted, which is always a suspicious sign, because whenever you see this, you either think they have talents, or they have Gamma, or they're misplaying. And it's very hard to tell which one of those three it is, right? When your opponent starts with a search that could have been done in the draw phase, but instead they do it in the main phase, you never know whether to play around talents or Gamma, or if they're just misplaying. But I was never going to Maxi here anyway. You would never ever chain Maxi to the out of Diabell Star, because this deck loses if Maxi resolves, so I might as well chain. I might as well chain to an effect that summons. Because if I resolve it, I win, regardless. So there's no reason to play into Gamma. Opponent discards OSS. They're trying to get me to play into Gamma here. Right, searching Snake Eye Ash. Using the Wanted, and now going Diabell Star first. It's pretty clear that there's Gamma. I was pretty confident that there was a Gamma. So I decide to chain now, before they draw a card, and before they remove their Diabell Star. It was actually a slight misplay. I should not have waited for them to activate this, because they could have used the field effect before drawing. So I should have actually just dropped the Maxi as soon as Diabell Star resolves. And yet they draw Poplar, which is insanely unfortunate. So then they normal the Poplar, and I know what's going on now. We know 3 cards in the hand. I knew there was a Gamma, I knew there was an Ash, and now I now know there's Temple. My Maxi resolved, so I know this last card isn't Ash either, which means we're cooking. It's not an imperm, so my guess is that this is probably just a brick, right? Maybe Driver, maybe Nibiru, maybe Flamberge, Lurie or something. Why would they use Wanted in the draw phase? You mean why wouldn't they? They would want to play around draw, but in this situation, I'm not sure if they misplayed or if they were trying to bait draw because of the gamma. So this is probably not a misplay. They probably just were trying to get me to play into it. You showing us how you clapped your opponent? Kind of. How did you know there was a gamma? I've never seen gamma in Snake Eye. Gamma is staple in Snake Eye right now. I think most of the top lists are playing it. I played it today in my Snake Eye. So yeah, we go main phase 1, and we're going to start with Lubellion. My thought process here is I don't need to play around Ash because they didn't Ash Maxi. So I don't need to play around this because we know it's OSS. The only thing I need to watch out for is Nibiru and maybe like a Ghost Ogre or a Veiler. That's the thing that we're most concerned about. Hard drawing Makuria is kind of crazy against Nibiru, but in this situation, because we have the Bestial, it goes way too hard to discard the Makuria, so I'm still going to do that. Whem here is the bait for Veiler. They don't Veiler it. We go for the Alva. They still don't Veiler it. So now I'm pretty sure it's either nothing or Nibiru. We banish the Makuria. And then search for Shrouded. So there's actually a really interesting misplay I make here. It's really slight, and it's basically a thought experiment more than anything, because we know they don't have Ash. But I technically could have played better into Ash. I don't even know if it's worth going over, but technically what I could do is, from this position, we use the Branded Fusion right now, because if we get Ashed, there's no Ash, but if we do get Ashed somehow, we can go Shrouded send Albaz, then tribute the Bestial Sarania for Lubellion, and then Sarania can send White to add back with Retribution so that we have a play. But we know there's no Ash, so this misplay barely matters. I tribute now so that we can get Lost on the field first, which is the much more natural thing to do. And we send Sword. Now we go for Branded Fusion. There's obviously no Ash. We summon Albion. Now here, all we have to do to beat Nibiru is, at some point, use the sword to add back Makuria before we get 5 summons. That's all we have to do to beat Nibiru. So we revive, but this is not scary yet because we're still under the Branded Loss window, so this is not a misplay yet. This is our 6th summon, but it's fine, we're still under the Lost window. I chain Cartesia so that I can make use of my Lubellion body, and also get my Albion into the graveyard because I've already tributed for Lubellion. We make Chaos, summon Mirror Jade. I don't care about the back row because it's not scary, so I pop the monsters, and I chain to add back Makuria. This is the last moment, I'm just flexing at this point. Last moment to add back Makuria before they have a chance to respond. So we pop the monsters. They trigger, but this is fine, we have infinite damage. Then my opponent goes Nibiru, and I think I've outplayed them because I go Makuria, and then I get absolutely punished by this Gamma. So I made a misplay here. What I should have done is leave a monster on the board so that we didn't get Gammaed. I should have popped the field spell or the Die Bellstar. But we get Gammaed, which means the Nibiru is resolving. Chain Mirror Jade to get a free Titaniclad in the graveyard. Mirror Jade triggers, Golden Sword triggers. So we can rebuild our board here. They get a lot of follow-up with the Ash, the OSS, the Temple, the Diabell Star. They have a lot of follow-up, but we can make a big board still. I send Branded in red and draw into another Shrouded. Now we can add back the Branded in red. Keck W 2 OSS. No, 2 OSS is standard. You play 2 or 3 now. Anybody still playing 1 is definitely behind. You're supposed to play multiple. The card is good in multiples. That's a fat token? Yes, it is. Huge token. Part of me really wishes, this is my secret wish, I really want a generic Link monster that can switch a Nibiru token from defense to attack, so that you can punish Nibiru by attacking them with a huge token. We really need that card. It would be so funny. So I use the token and we go for Chimera here. Doesn't really matter what we pop. There's no way I can kill them, so I don't want to pop this. Especially because I can't attack directly anyway with the Chimera, so we might as well attack over this. And I decide to pop the Temple. I feel like the Temple is the most unpredictable card here. Set the double Super Poly. We don't have to worry about having discards because we have access to a lot of discards. Between the Cartesia, the Branded Lost, we have a lot of discards. Setting Banishment, we have Mirror Jade as a target to revive. Adding Albaz. It was arguably better to summon the Albaz, because it plays better with the Super Polys and the Banishment. But my thought process was, add the Albaz, then it's a free discard, then we can revive it with Quam. And we get to keep the Droll in hand. So opponent has gas. They flip the OSS, go for the Ash from the hand, which is weird because they don't have a normal summon. No, this makes sense. This makes sense, yeah. To search Oak here. They summon Flamberge. Now I want to get rid of this Flamberge. So I don't overcomplicate it, I just use Banishment as Monster Reborn and summon the Mirror Jade. Sending Rinbrum. We don't have Albaz, but we're gonna get Albaz into the graveyard. Here I Super Poly. I'm pretty sure it's over at this point. Just use these into Garura. We even revive Cartesia for good measure. We have the Albaz to fuse with, so this feels unlosable. I choose to use the Cartesia here. I go Lubellion. This is the same thing as what we saw before. I'm gonna draw a card and make Furious. And then the last card is Engraver, but we just have so much gas here, so much disruption. We can use the Rinbrum. This is why we popped the Mirror Jade with Furious, so that we can make the second one. The same synergy as we saw before. And all they have is Engraver. We could banish it if we want to, but I decide to flex. I use the Super Poly instead. Show them that I had the Mud Dragon as well. And I call Divine because that play was Divine. Can we banish a third time? Absolutely. And then we attack the game. Most important play. This is the craziest, the most important play of Branded that you will ever ever learn, make sure you attack the game with Mirror Jade. It's incorrect to do it any other way. So that was my tournament this morning. That was my WMGP match. Mirror Jade lethal animation when? Oh my god, I would love a special animated attack for Mirror Jade. That would be so cool. And a Mirror Jade mate? Or an Albaz mate that turns into Mirror Jade when you summon Mirror Jade. That would be cool too. Okay, shall we play some actual games?